What is going on, FA Nation? My name is Justin Fensterman, along with Howard Bender, and this is another episode of Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk here on fantasyalarm.com. On to week 13 of DFS. The watch list is live, it's hot, and this is the man that covers it all and writes the watch list. What's up, Hal?
What's up, Fensty man? How you doing? Well, we're almost done with week 12, so I figured once this afternoon game between the Steelers and Ravens wraps up, everybody should be immediately taking a pivot over to week 13 and start taking a look at everything. Usually the watch list posts on Tuesday. I opted to do it this morning. Not a big deal. Still a lot of great plays. Just one thing to take notice if you are checking out the article over at fantasyalarm.com, please read the intro. The intro will explain why the matchups on the article are still last week. Once the game ends today, once the Wednesday game ends, then this will automatically flip the week into week 13, and Kirk Cousins will be doing battle against the Jaguars, not against the Carolina Panthers.
Sorry about that. But you know what? Only because I care. I want to make sure that I have all the right info, and that is why you have to read everything. I got caught up. But something that I keep getting caught up on, and we got to start here. I just can't take it. I keep seeing this name pop up, and it haunts my dreams. And this name is Derek Carr. I know the matchup's great, but how many times have we seen this guy let down? I know he's facing the New York Jets / Planes, as I call them, but he's still let down before coming off the Atlanta matchup where I know they're playing better, man. I'm trying to mentally just go beyond the matchup with this guy, but he's so hard to ignore because of it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Carr had a great run early on in the season. He was playing very well. He was playing efficiently. The completion rate was up. He was looking nice and solid. Has he had some down games? Yeah, absolutely. And that game against Atlanta was a complete mess. Just the thing about DFS, though, is that you have to have that short memory. You can't sit there and say, well, this guy was, he was awful last week, so therefore I'm not going to use him. You have to stay with the matchups. It's all about the process. And that's, one of the things that we talk about constantly on Fantasy Alarm is about utilizing the process for your analysis. Do the work that you do, regardless of what you're looking at from last week. And you know what? After you isolate your guys, like that's the whole thing about the watch list. I'm looking at the matchups here on paper right now. I don't forget about what we saw last week, right? Derek Carr versus the New York Jets. Their secondary is terrible. They don't have a good pass rush. They do defend against the run a little bit better than they do against the pass. Josh Jacobs is banged up, hence, therefore, and such, I'm going to tilt over to Derek Carr, and I'm going to look at him against the Jets. Now, if I go back and I look at Derek Carr, and I'm like, oh, terrible game last week, good solid game the week before, okay, fine. I mean, it's up and down. Or, I look and I'm like, wow, Derek Carr's got 12 touchdowns to 1 interception over his last 3 games. That's something you got to pay attention to because he's streaking and he's doing really, really well. So, you can't sit there and look at last week's games and take that into this week in DFS. If that's the case, well, then I'm even more in on Derek Carr because why? His ownership's going to be insanely low. And can the Jets defend against the pass? No, they can't. So, give me Waller and give me Henry Ruggs going up against the Jets and stack them with Carr because the low, a lot of cases when that low-owned stack pops, that's when you start winning GPP tournaments.
Right. And there have been other matchups too. The Broncos matchup, I was a little bit let down with him by looking at one more matchup I thought I had here too. I mean, there have been a few with Derek Carr that I have not liked. I mean, Cleveland, the Chargers, I was expecting bigger numbers from him.
But see, there you go. And the question is why? Like, Cleveland has one of the best pass rushes with Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon. That, shatters the time that he's got in the pocket. You've got a good, solid pass rush with the Chargers along with decent guys in the secondary. Plus, it's a division matchup. So they know each other really, really well. That's what I'm talking about. You have these expectations of what they're going to do, and that doesn't happen because I mean, listen, what were your expectations of him going up against Kansas City?
The first time or the second time?
Either time.
The second time I had higher expectations. The first time I did not have expectations going in for him.
Yeah. So that's all. That's all I'm saying. You got to have that short memory, and
understood.
You got to look at what these matchups are before you sit there and dismiss it. Why was it a bad game? Why was it a terrible game? What were the factors leading into that? It's why you need to do as much analysis after the games as you do before.
Now you mentioned Ruggs. If you're going to stack this situation, why Ruggs over someone like a Hunter Renfrow, let's just say, or an Aguilar? What is your reasoning behind Ruggs out of all three?
You look at what Ruggs has been doing over the last couple of games. He's not seeing a lot of targets. I mean, neither is Aguilar. Aguilar and Derek Carr have that nice little bond that they've been able to hit those deep passes every so often. You start seeing that with Ruggs a little bit more in the last couple of games. He's dropped a few. Their timing hasn't been right. You feel like, knowing that Ruggs has the speed, knowing that it's going up against the Jets, who don't have any speed in their secondary anymore, that's going to be the one. Like, the Jets are slump busters, Fensty. You know it as well as I do, right? They're terrible, and everybody loves having a breakout game against the Jets. We're like, we all keep seeing it. We're on the cusp of this breakout game for Henry Ruggs. This to me feels like more of it than going with like a guy like Renfrow, who sees some targets, but I mean, what's his red zone work looking like? And is he taking the ball downfield? He's a chain mover between the 20s more than he's like, hey, let's hit a home run by launching him downfield.
Yeah, I'll say this. He did a much better job convincing me to go after Carr for at least one lineup than Adam Ronis did. Like 100 times better than last night on Alarm After Hours. So I just had to say that right there. And the biggest lesson that we've learned from that was, look, your memory has to be short for that kind of thing. You're playing DFS, the entire slate. It's the painting. You're not painting over another painting. You're painting a brand new blank painting Bob Ross style, and that's exactly what you're doing when you're building your lineups out.
Happy trees. Happy trees.
Love them. Talk about some of the other players that are on your watch list here. And by the way, if you haven't gotten the deal, what are you waiting for? It keeps extending for a reason. FantasyAlarm.com/CyberWeek. $97, all our products, 13 plus sports that you get, no payments until 2022. That's going to make 2021 amazing. And we're starting now. And the key to holiday gift shopping, not having to pay out of pocket. And that's how I'm very excited once again about this deal. And I just want to shake everyone. You got to get it. You got to get it right now.
Absolutely. FantasyAlarm.com/CyberWeek. That's what you got to do and get yourself. I mean, listen, it's everything we've got. Like, it's literally everything we've got. Like, you want Fensty's cheat sheet that just came out for NBA. That's included. The NHL cheat sheet that's coming out either today or tomorrow, that's included. NFL, MLB draft guides, seasonal DFS, you name it, we've got it all fully covered. $97. FantasyAlarm.com/CyberWeek. That'll take you over there.
Happy holidays at all. It'll be a better holiday when you get this deal, let me tell you. And if you get some of these players in your lineup, then you'll probably have a nice week 13 as well, because if you're looking at this Jaguars-Vikings matchup, the first thing I got to ask you about, Mike Glennon, it's the Vikings. I know they've played better. Is it too cute to put Mike Glennon in a GPP?
I won't use him. I mean, you don't know. I mean, James Robinson's the only consistent thing out of that Jaguars offense. You don't know who the receivers are, who are going to get the touches, and to me, I'm not, no. Like that to me, like people try to do that. And, maybe there are some cases where it works, but I mean, look at what Mike Glennon's done in his career. Has there ever been any reason to believe that even against a crappy defense, that Mike Glennon is somebody who you can rely on? No, like that. Like I won't. I'm fine paying down at QB. There are a couple of names, that I've got in the watch list here. If you want to pay down, Derek Carr is one. Mitch Trubisky is another one. I'll pay down for those guys, or Kirk Cousins going up against the Jags, rather than go all the way down and try it out for Mike Glennon. I mean, for that stack to really pop, I mean, that's, you really need to hit the nuts on that one.
You do, and that's very difficult to do. But on the other side of that matchup, you said someone that's in your watch list is Kirk Cousins. You also have a few other Vikings players here. Regarding Adam Thielen, everything should check out regarding him playing for Week 13. So you're going to go with someone like Kirk Cousins, who at times you have to debate the trust. You put in Thielen, who you know has that safe floor. And you were all over, going back to last week, those Vikings players as well. You were on Jefferson, BC Johnson as well. So at this time, you are the Vikings whisperer, my man.
Well, I'll take it, man. I will. They make it easy. You've got Dalvin Cook. Like, that's the tough part, is obviously getting Dalvin Cook's price tag into your lineups. That's really what it comes down to. And that kind of burned me on cash games last week, because I kept trying to squeeze in Dalvin Cook's price tag when I should have just said, you know what, screw it. Let me go Derrick Henry. Let me go Nick Chubb, instead of trying to force Dalvin Cook in there. And I won't make that mistake again. Will I do a GPP stack? Absolutely. Like, I'll happily, make sure of that for, Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and probably Thielen. If not Thielen, Jefferson. It depends on how I feel. I got to look at practices for Thielen. These guys who are coming back from COVID, some are fine, and then others are just absolute garbage. I mean, Cam hasn't looked good since coming back from COVID. Zeke Elliott had it all year, and he hasn't looked great. I mean, granted, their offensive line is a little on the trashy side, but, Zeke hasn't looked good. Trying to think of who else just came back. And, anyway, but it's guys like that. If they have COVID, you have to see how that's going to affect them physically. So I just need to see what happens with Thielen in practice, because I'll stay with Thielen if everything seems completely normal. If it doesn't, he needs like an extra day of rest or something like that. I'll probably pivot to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, these bodies, think about the dehydration that these players are experiencing when they're sick in general, let alone on that list. You have to take that into consideration. That's where reality meets fantasy a little bit. Another matchup that we're going to want a piece of, this Colts-Texans matchup. And I've already got a little bit of a feeling regarding the line on this, Texans +3, liking that so far. But beyond that, looking at it from a DFS standpoint, now with activated, we were just talking about Thielen, but with Taylor activated, what are your expectations at this moment regarding the Colts run game against that amazing Houston pass rush?
Well, I mean, Houston's pass rush is actually better than their run defense, and that's not saying a whole lot. You have to look and see what's going on with Taylor. And if he's getting regular snaps and regular touches in practice over the next couple of days, then you have to be bullish on him. They gave him 20 carries, before he ended up coming down with COVID. I've got Nyheim Hines in the watch list right now because, if there is some struggle with Taylor, Hines is the guy who will probably see the majority of work, even ahead of Jordan Wilkins, who gets some touches and he gets some red zone work. But, overall, I think they're a little bit more in tune. I think Frank Reich prefers having Nyheim Hines there for the time being right now, if he can't use Taylor.
What about anybody else that you're liking from the Indy side going up against Houston? Do you like Phillip Rivers as a spot start at all this week? I mean, I know you can't have everybody in your watch list, but is he still someone based off the matchup you're keeping your eye on?
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of problems going on with the Colts offense right now. I mean, I like Michael Pittman a lot. I would love to see Michael Pittman be more targeted. The problem is Phillip Rivers is spreading the ball out. It's like it's like one of your fantasy leagues, Fensty, where everybody gets paid out for just participating. Like Phillip Rivers is doing that with targets right now. Oh, you're gonna play today? I'll give you a target or two, no problem. You want a target?
It's not
get a
that
target.
Easy, Howard. It's not that easy.
right? You're like Oprah. You get a target.
Oh, no,
You get a target. You get a target.
Score high score of the week. That's not easy to do.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If you have a good team, you can do it easily.
True. But you could, oh man, we could go into that whole conversation. We're going to save it though for now about incentivizing those last place teams. I won't talk about it anymore.
You know, just get better last place teams. Get more
Agreed. I would love that. I would love better last place teams.
Incentivizing people. Oh, come on, please participate in week 13. You can win money. You're taking away money from the winners.
I hear you on that, but I want to make sure everyone's setting their lineups week 13. Like your producer, Ani Sridhar, I'm going to have to text him to make sure that he sets his last place lineup.
Listen, man, I'm going to talk to you like Adam Sandler's talking to Miss Lippy right now, right? You go out and you find your effing dog, right? So you're a commissioner, man. If people are just sitting there with dead lineups, then you reach out to them and you say, you set your effing lineup right now, dude. You're killing me right now. I'll bounce you out of the league if that's what you want, but come on. Like, you know, incentivizing them with extra money and, you know, oh, if you guys, you know, you take a nice solid dump, I'm going to give you an extra $10 just because your digestive system's working well.
I think it's time for dodgeball, as Miss Lippy would say. Yes, she would. Yes, she would. I'm going to need some real Miss Lippy time after this live stream. Let's talk about the Lions and the Bears, though. Let's talk about Mitchell Trubisky, because I was literally talking to Adam Ronis about this on Alarm After Hours last night, and I couldn't even get through his name without just starting to laugh my ass off with the fact that we're relying on this guy now, and based off what we saw, spot start option, you have him in the watch list. What are your expectations?
For the Bears?
Yes.
I'm sorry, which name did you say?
Mitchell Trubisky. What are your expectations for Trubisky, the Bears offense versus the Lions?
362 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Ooh, 4 touchdowns?
No,
Trubisky.
Dude, no.
Damn.
No, listen, this is one of those games where, you know, I mean, the opponent is ridiculously soft, right? I mean, the run defense for the Lions is atrocious, so I'm bullish on Montgomery. They just lost Danny Shelton on the defensive line. Their pass rush stinks now. They just lost Desmond Trufant to the IR with a hamstring issue, so their best corner in the world's worst secondary is now out as well. So, you know, I mean, I look at this situation, I'm like, how is Trubisky not going to carve up this secondary with Allen Robinson this week? Like, that would be, you know, I mean, this is like Matt Nagy's dream matchup. He can get there, he can, you know, utilize the ground game a little bit. It will open up some play action. I think Trubisky can have a rock solid day. I really do. I would consider looking at this team and think about, you know, a possible stack with either, I probably wouldn't do Trubisky, Montgomery, and Robinson. I might pivot to like Jimmy Graham instead of Montgomery. But, again, Trubisky to Robinson, I think, is going to be a nice connection this week.
Yeah, and it's a very smart stack as well. What do you do when you have a quarterback who you feel is shaky when you're taking a little bit of a risk? You get his top guy and someone that is, I don't want to say quarterback proof, but the garbage that he's had to work with throughout his career, Allen Robinson, it's just simply amazing that he's gotten to the point he's at. Can you imagine how he would be with I don't want to say semi-good quarterback, but someone in the upper echelon of NFL quarterbacks one year?
Right. I mean, what's he gone through? He's gone from Blake Bortles to Mitch Trubisky.
Right. It's brutal. And then Nick Foles. I mean, come on, man. It's just crazy how he's gotten this far. But that's how you stack. On the other side of it, though, you have an interesting player here. We love to get dirty and disgusting with our lineups. Mohamed Sanu. Now, Kenny Golladay still not practicing, so we have to think that it's looking like with him, he's going to be out of the way here. So what do you think about Sanu? I mean, I'm looking at – I don't want to stack Stafford with him or anything like that. But, hey, man, if I'm building stars and scrubs, that's the guy you want there with the opportunities he's gotten.
Yeah, you know what? And what I love doing in DFS, I've always done this, is I target against Bear slot corner, Buster Screen, right? When he was with the Jets, I was targeting against him left and right. And now he's with Chicago. Has he had a game or two where he's looked okay? Sure. But, one of the things is like with Kenny Golladay, when he went down, Marvin Hall, Quintez Cephas, these guys really, they weren't gelling with Matthew Stafford like he wants them to. And Stafford's one of those like old school creatures of habit. He had Kenny Golladay and he had Marvin Jones. If he had those two, he didn't need anybody else. So I think he likes having that reliable veteran presence that Sanu does have. And so, for having Sanu as the number 3 wideout on the team and working out of the slot, that's something that I think Stafford will want to rely on a little bit more heavily. So, yeah, I'm not bullish on stacking the Lions only because, it's the new coach. Darrell Bevell is now the head coach of the team, so I have to kind of see, what he's thinking. The Bears defense is actually a solid defensive unit, so, I'm not really that into Matthew Stafford, but if you're sitting there and you're looking for that min-price salary guy who could see some targets and who could see some red zone work, Mohamed Sanu is a guy you want to look at.
$3K on DraftKings.
Min-price, baby. Min-price.
There you go. Hey, man, I like it.
That was BC Johnson last week, right?
That's right. I need some. Dude, I like a good value, let me tell you, all year, not just around holiday time. As we continue to preview the watch list, which once again, fantasyalarm.com, you go right on the site and you'll see it right there. And again, something that we have to, because I still get questions about this, and it says this in the article, this updates daily, almost daily throughout the week. So not just what you see right now. So just remember, and don't be a schmuck like me and not read the intro and then go to Howard Bender freaking out thinking there's something wrong with the article, only for you to look like an idiot like I did by not reading the intro.
I'll shout out to my boy Gene Gregory, right? I love Gene, but he just sent me a message via Twitter that said, week 13 watch list is out, but in column 3, you've got the week 12 matchup. Not sure if column 4 is correct or not. So I wrote, read the intro. Now I had to go back into it, Fensty, and I had to make it bold and in red and in italics too. Come on, people, just read. Please I get it. When I sit there,
lose faith in humanity because of me. I still wear my mask whenever out.
I have no faith in humanity anyway. We're all gonna die soon enough anyway, and I'll be okay with that.
You do have some faith though. In Taysom Hill, though.
Oh, I got faith in Taysom, sure.
So, because I've been getting a lot of questions about in season long regarding dropping Taysom Hill for those that are looking for weekly Band-Aids. And, going up against the Falcons just because Derek Carr doesn't get it done. Taysom Hill, whenever they're in that 5-yard range, no Alvin Kamara. Latavius Murray could be destroyed the matchup. Taysom Hill will still take it in himself.
Right? I mean, we're seeing that a lot with some of these mobile quarterbacks. We've been talking about it a lot. Taysom Hill ruining the value of Alvin Kamara. Jacoby Brissett coming in for the Colts, killing the value of Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. And, Josh Allen does the same thing to Singletary and Zach Moss. So, but, listen, from a DFS standpoint, you're getting, you love having these mobile quarterbacks, right? They pick up the extra rushing yards and they poach touchdowns inside that green zone. And Taysom Hill, I mean, what did he pass for 260 yards against the Falcons 2 weeks ago? He ran 2 touchdowns in. So, I mean, listen, I get it. The Falcons defense looked like the vintage steel curtain last week, but here we go. Sean Payton knows the Falcons pretty well, and he's got his process going. So if he can get away with it with Taysom Hill another week, man, I'll take that floor as my cash game QB. Let him run in a touchdown or two, salvage the day for me there, and that'll enable me to get higher priced players in at the running back and wide receiver spot.
You think ownership will be down on Michael Thomas after what happened last week?
Probably, yeah.
Right. Because after 2 weeks ago, I'll say this. I was thinking, okay, no problem. We'll be good. And then last week comes and it's almost like a shot back to reality that when looking for the consistency right now with this Saints squad, I mean, outside of Latavius Murray looking darn good, Taysom Hill, like you said, has been wrecking the value of Kamara. And, dude, I'm already getting those questions regarding what to make of Kamara, benching Kamara. This is a scary time when you can't trust your cornerstone this late in the season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know you love the consistency. You love shouting it out to our friend Bob Long, but the bottom line is that if there's a year of fantasy football where the consistency is nada, this is it. And yeah, you're starting to see it right now. You're seeing top players, all of a sudden become big busts here at the end of the season because of the situation at hand. Kamara, yeah, you should be concerned. It depends on who the other running backs are in your lineup as far as whether or not you're going to bench Kamara. But, listen, I think that with everything that we've heard over the last 2 weeks, that there is enough fear by people to have low ownership on Kamara that in DFS, you throw him into a GPP tournament. Absolutely.
I was just looking up his price, Howard, and I'm seeing $7K on DraftKings for him.
Right. Michael Thomas, too, right? Michael Thomas is $7K also. When was the last time these guys were that cheap? And I think that, with the way Sean Payton does things, I think that he has got the capability of turning around and scheming for a very pro-heavy Kamara game, because everybody's like, well, Atlanta, they handle the run a lot better than they handle the pass. Their defense has been strong the last couple of weeks, so nobody's going to be on Kamara. Probably not Thomas either. So yeah, I'll take that Saints stack, no problem. That would be an entertaining stack, to say the least.
Oh, for sure. And you're leaving yourself a floor if you include Taysom Hill in there, because he's going to rush in some touchdowns likely. Not guaranteed, but likely. If you're running it back, if you're doing a game stack with this, you also have Calvin Ridley in the watch list. Now, all eyes are on Julio Jones because it was at this time last week where I believe he was practicing in a limited fashion. We thought, okay, maybe we'll be good. And then we weren't so good. So does he stay as a player you're watching if all of a sudden it's looking like Julio is going to play?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, Matt Ryan he plays better when he's got Julio in the lineup and he targets Julio on a regular basis. I mean, it's you run a risk. I won't use Julio in cash. You run a risk of him, re-aggravating the hamstring injury, and then he's out. And then what are you going to do? And it's a huge bummer. But again, if you're a multi-entry person in DFS, like there are certain things that you that you're almost forced into, when the Falcons, when the Saints crap the bed and you get, Thomas and Kamara and nobody's interested, game theory points you towards using them the following week because everybody's going to be off them. And if there's a stack that has the capability of exploding, could you imagine that? Imagine Taysom Hill rushes in a touchdown or two. Imagine Alvin Kamara scores a touchdown, right? And he rushes for like 50, 60, 70 yards, catches like 4 passes for like 40, 50 yards. Maybe he gets another touchdown there. Michael Thomas, rings up 10 catches, 92 yards and a touchdown there because Atlanta sucks. Like, you just got great production. You bargain shopped for your quarterback, and then you got value on your running back and wide receiver. So you've already got room now for adding other guys. You can live in that low to mid 6K range for your other wide receivers and get guys like Allen Robinson in there, who's in a great spot. You can get a guy like Adam Thielen, who's in a great spot there. So,
whoa, is it getting hot in here, or is it just that lineup that you just put out there right now?
I know, right? I should just build that while we're talking here on the stream.
This all just makes so much sense. But let's just get this one thing. Can you throw to Kamara, coaching staff, Taysom Hill? Can you just throw to the guy? Just try it out for size more than 2 times. You'll get better results. I'm telling you, just please throw to the man, please. I know this is not love letters time here like it is on Fantasy Alarm, which, by the way, you can hear tonight and all week long, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern with Howard and the GM, Jim Bowden. So please just pass to Kamara. please. Howard will also be joining us on Alarm After Hours, me and Adam Ronas tonight between 1 and 3 a.m. Eastern. Hey, we made it. It's our 1-year anniversary, so very excited to get Howard in there. While I have Howard, thank you very much for always standing up and fighting for not only the show, but for yours truly as well. Like today with the article, I know I could be in the pain and in the ass, but you know what? FA Nation, we love you. Always dominate. No other option. All together, we'll win.